Stephen, are there any dark horse candidates?
Well, there are some dark horses. I mean, the two main names that have come up are what we just talked about, Yoshihide Suga, the 71-year-old right-hand man of Abe, the chief cabinet secretary. If you want continuity, that's probably the guy. There's also Shigeru Ishiba, the 63-year-old former defense minister. He is the most popular among the populace in Japan, but that doesn't translate to an LDP election victory because this is not a general election. This is an LDP insider election coming up in 2 weeks from today. So he might be on the outside. But as far as dark horses, one interesting dark horse would be Taro Kono. He is the current defense minister. He's fluent in English. He's a Georgetown graduate. A few years ago, he laid out a plan for the BOJ to exit its ultra-easing monetary policy. And he could also be more hawkish with China. And very interestingly, if you want to talk about real dark horses, talk about the environment minister, Shinjiro Koizumi. Koizumi, that's a familiar name, right? Well, he's the son of former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi. He's a rising political star. He's 39 years old. He's not joining this race yet, but he says he would back the man I had just mentioned, Taro Kono, if he does enter the race.
Look, from a market's point of view, Stephen, Abe's successor, it's about continuity of that principle of Abenomics, that symbiotic relationship between MP and FP, and it's about confidence in business in Japan. How assured can we be of Abenomics Mark II?
Well, Abenomics, if you look back over the last nearly 8 years, it has a checkered past, but it started off well, those three arrows, of course, monetary easing and fiscal policy and regulatory reforms. But you know what? The last year, especially in the last 8 months, we've seen the coronavirus really take all the wind out of Shinzo Abe's sails, literally. Put everything into a tailspin. The BOJ has had to shift from reviving inflation to throwing lifelines to businesses, and inflation is non-existent. It's flatlining right now. Deflation could accelerate after, of course, the coronavirus decimation of the economy. And the key here, households and companies, they're back into savings mode again. There won't be a spending bonanza from, the Olympics that have been postponed. It will force the government to borrow heavily to cushion demand. So by default, they might have to continue the process.
And where does this leave structural reform, Stephen? Is that now on the back burner with the economy hit so hard by the pandemic?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Basically, the ultra-low rates and bond buying drove, a rally in stocks initially with Abenomics, sent the yen lower. Companies reported record earnings. But you know what? They didn't embark on the big structural reforms. Wages didn't go up enough to boost consumption. There was womanomics, which Shinzo Abe was a champion of, to get more women into the workplace and giving daycare benefits and et cetera, et cetera. It was popular, but it saw some initial success. But again, coming out of this coronavirus, they're not even out of it. They're going through it right now. It's going to be hard to convince the government and the companies that structural reform is the priority over profitability and getting the economy going again.